over in the chat. If you're out there, drop us a comment, say hi, tell us where you are from. But how you guys doing, Dave and Carla?
Dude, I am good and doing awesome. But before Carla actually gets a chance to speak, I just want to point out the obvious here, which is that you and I have been doing these for what, 15 months, something like that now?
I think this is
Yeah.
number 15.
Is that number
I
15?
think.
And finally we wised up. We
Yeah.
got Carla to come on the show.
That's right.
And the only reason she agreed to do it is because I told her we need to keep you in line. I said, Jordan talks too much and he won't ever
Yeah.
let me get a word in. And I need you to kind of, we're trying to gang up on you here, but I have a feeling you and my wife are going to gang up on me.
Well, there's only been two things missing from these live streams. And the two things are brains and beauty. And so we just rolled them
We
all
should
up in
just
one
bow out and let
package
Carla do this on her own.
and got Carla here. And now we just kind of get to be, in fact, you know what would be better? Let's just do this. And yeah.
Oh,
look at-
there
there
we
we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
Ross,
did figure out the tech. Thank
Ross,
you, Ross.
so-
It's only taken us a year and a half, but we got
Ross,
it.
I wish you were on about like 3 minutes ago when they were trying to figure out the
Oh,
tech
yeah.
over there because it was
Yeah, Dave's
comedy.
camera wasn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually
that was
told
great.
Dave, I said, Dave always says that I'm supposed to be the eye candy for the show or whatever. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
but we're with Jordan. He's way prettier.
I
Oh,
told her, I
man.
said, well, you're prettier, but his eyes are a bit mesmerizing me. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Those baby blues.
Yeah. Look at already Ross is, nobody wants to see me or Dave.
No.
Nobody wants to see me or Dave. Ross.
I want to know why my picture has the Laundromat Resource logo in it.
I don't know.
I think
can
it's
fix
just
that.
because
Here
I'm
we
in the
go.
top. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
better.
Well, I
No,
like
it's
this
actually
little.
good. It's kind of cross branding. You know what I mean?
This is my new like.
And I think
little-
it's just us three hanging out with Ross. So, guys, if you're here,
That's okay.
let us know. Okay, drop in the chat.
yeah. Jumping in the
We-
chat and get those questions rolling in. What's up, Scott?
Scott's here. All right.
All right.
Got a
Get those
couple
questions
friends.
rolling in. I'm going to introduce these guys real quick and we'll get as questions start rolling in. Then we'll start answering those questions. And Tom, what's going on?
Hey.
We're doing good. Carla, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's actually been beautiful here in Cincinnati. I think we got up to like 81 today. Started
Oh.
feeling a little bit like California.
It was like
But
But next
drizzling
week it'll
here.
be back in like the 40s and 50s.
Yeah. This is like Legend Central right now. We got Ross
it
in
is.
here. We've got Waleed in here. We've got Carla here. This is like, what is
Got it
like the
going.
Hall of
All the big
Fame?
names.
I'm just going to sit back and not say anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
That's like saying Waleed's not going to say anything. We all know that's not true. laughing
That's
at me.
funny.
He's
What's up,
laughing at
Hinder?
me.
How's it going? And LinkedIn,
LinkedIn
user.
user.
That's all I have. It just
They're
says
staying
LinkedIn user.
anonymous.
Yep.
So,
And guys,
yeah.
we're not sure if we're doing this right, but Jordan's using a new software. And as far as we know, we are on our platforms and
Yeah.
we're on Jordan's platform. So we're getting super fancy, Ross. How you like that?
Real.
So we think we're actually on. Oh, Mark's here.
Oh, Mark Vlascamp's here
Dan-
too, and Joe Dan
Dan.
Reed. That really is the Hall of Fame
really
going
is.
on.
You know what? We should charge for the people in the chat. We should
Yeah.
charge to join the chat with all the powerhouses in the chat.
Yeah, you know what I need?
Big
I'm just
time.
gonna bow out gracefully here, and I'm just I can't even
My
be in this
picture just
room.
got my picture just got better. What happened?
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know.
Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
Oh,
All right, she's breaking the ice
Okay.
here with the
good.
question.
We've got
Good to
we've
hear.
got a question to answer. But
right.
real quick, before we do, just in case you guys don't know, this is Dave, Laundromat Millionaire Men's, and his wife Carla, Laundromat Millionaire Men's. Are you throwing that in as a middle
No.
name too?
I call her the Laundromat Millionaire S, and she hates it even more than
He
the
does it
Laundromat
just to-
Millionaire.
Okay. I'll go with Carla, Dave's wife. Carla.
She's like, I'm good with just being Carla.
Yep, just me.
All right. Just Carla. Julie, all right, San Diego.
Hey, all right.
Representing. I like.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
We'll
come
be there
visit
in a few
Carla
weeks.
and Julie and ride my bike down to San Diego and
Yes.
just avoid
boy.
Dave when I'm down there. Yeah. But awesome. All right, welcome guys. Welcome. We have got. We're going to be hanging out answering questions. So whether you are brand new into this industry or you're a veteran trying to expand your laundromat empire, man, get those questions in here. And let me just say, listen, there's a lot of wisdom here. Carla, obviously the brains and the beauty. Dave, we'll talk for days. I'm here to just facilitate questions. But also in the chat, literally is the Hall of Fame of
Hall of
laundromat
Fame.
ownership.
Mm.
I mean,
We're gonna blow
I'm
their heads up.
I'm not even kind of joking here. So throw your questions in the chat because you'll get, wisdom from here on screen, but probably even more so, you're going to get some wisdom in the chat there. So don't be afraid to ask your questions. There's no dumb questions. So, we'll just forward the ones that are, dumb adjacent to Dave and see what he does with them.
I remember a quote that makes me think of my own intellect here, Jordan. And it is that there are no dumb questions, but the world is sure full of a lot of inquisitive idiots. And I'm not sure where I fall in that well, I think I know where I fall in that category, actually. But anyways, I guess I'm feeling a little playful too. Hey, straight from Australia, New York. Jason's with us.
Good day.
Good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
We probably just made him cringe, but that's all right.
That's hilarious.
Great guy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, Jason was actually at our pickup and delivery workshop. He's a rock star.
Awesome.
He is
awesome.
a great
Awesome.
guy.
How was that, by the way? I saw you have another one coming up.
It was fantastic. We do
Yeah.
have another one coming up in June. What is it, Carla?
June 13th and 14th.
So
Nice.
thanks.
Yep, we just announced that. It was awesome. The group was great. We had some great questions, great discussions. It was good.
Yeah, anytime you can get a group of rock stars together that are all pulling in the same direction and they start to feed off of each other and challenge each other and encourage each other. I mean, a workshop and a conference is just such a cool environment. As you know, Jordan, I'm a big fan. So yeah, it's been quite an honor. I mean, we've done 2 of those pickup and delivery workshops and they both sold out, and we're doing another one June 13th and 14th. So we are pretty excited about that. But yep, definitely. Man, a lot of new names, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Not kind of cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
Because we don't want to just sit around and talk with Ross all day. I mean, I like Ross and all. But
I do.
I
will talk with Ross.
You probably do talk to Ross all day.
I actually haven't talked with Ross in a really long time. In fact, Ross, you texted me last week.
No way.
Oh, awesome.
Holy cow. Soul brother from China.
Nice.
Dude,
right.
I'm pretty confident in saying this is our first Chinese, I don't know what we call them, follower, commenter,
Visitor,
chatter,
participant.
Thank you.
Participant, Illinois. Now that's not too far at all.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Rudy.
Hi, Rudy.
Awesome. Great. Well, guys, get your comments in the chats. We're going to try to answer as many of them as we can. And when me and Jordan get them wrong, Carla will correct us.
She'll sweep it up. All right.
Yep.
Let's go to our first one. I mean, this is teed up right for you guys. Is you got recurring pickup and delivery customers, and you've got to increase your prices.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notify customers? If so, what's the best way to do that? How many times? How often? How far beforehand? What do you guys do with price increases on the pickup and delivery?
So this actually just happened. We outsource dry cleaning. We do wholesale dry cleaning, and our dry cleaner raised the price of their laundered and pressed shirts. So we had to raise ours. But we use Sense. For those that do use Sense, they are adding Sense Accelerate, which is actually a platform to do both texting and emailing of your customers. So I actually just sent a text and an email out to all of our pickup and delivery customers, just notifying of the price increase. So I sent it 2 days ago. The price increase goes in effect on April 24th. So we're giving them, a little bit of notice there. But I think people complain less if they're notified ahead of time. So I think that's a good idea. But we use both text and email just because some people are good about checking text. Some are better about checking emails. So we just hit them with both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to add one thing. I know they asked only on pickup and delivery, but the way that we do it in our business, our organization is one of the big, what's the word I'm looking for? Controversies in the Facebook groups and all that about whether to notify customers. And if you're going to raise your price on your 80-pound washer for self-serve, do you put a thing on the door? Do you put a sticker on the machine that tells them? That's a pretty controversial conversation. And what we've settled in on is what our belief is if the customer is aware of the cost to purchase at the time of transaction, then we personally don't notify them. And so what I mean by that is self-serve or drop-off. Our drop-off customers are prepay, and obviously self-serve is prepay. So for self-serve, if you walk into the store and you're going to use an 80-pound machine, and last week it was $12 and today it's $13, you're going to see that price and you physically have to put money in the machine. So it's not that you're unaware before you make the transaction. For us, drop-off is prepay too. So when you walk up to the counter, you may give us a bag of laundry. We may weigh it for you. And we're going to tell you the cost is $78 before you pay. And then if you choose to pay, then you were aware of that price before the transaction. Now, the reason we do the opposite on pickup and delivery is because with pickup and delivery, the opposite happens. They they schedule a pickup, they put it on the porch. Let's say hypothetically, they didn't read the website, so they aren't aware of a price increase. We go out, pick up their laundry, we process their laundry. Once the laundry's processed, then Sense bills their card. And when we bill their card, it's too late. They weren't aware. So that's how we kind of quantify when we want to notify them, is when's the initial transaction happen and when are they notified. We feel like as long as it's at the same time, then it's fair to not pre-notify them, if that makes sense. So to answer the question, when we put it on our when we raise self-serve prices or drop off prices, we don't notify them ahead of time. It just happens at the time of the transaction. Pickup and delivery, we notify them ahead of time.
Because we have a lot of our customers that are on reoccurring. And so they don't even look like they have their everything about what soap they want, everything, all of their options set, and they just set it and forget it. So when that bill comes in and it went up, that's a quick and easy way of making an unhappy customer. So we like to notify them for delivery.
What about you, Jordan? What do you do? I know you don't do delivery, right?
Not anymore. No. Well, real quick. So both Ross and Jodan Reed says we say nothing. We don't say anything.
So I see Jodan's. Walmart doesn't tell me when their price is being increased.
Yeah.
But do you have
a better question? Why do you go to Walmart? Never mind.
For the deals, man. For the deals.
I know. Everybody likes
it. So the one time that I notified self-serve customers was when we had all these crazy utility hikes, where our gas prices like tripled all of a sudden. And just, I mean, everybody saw it at home and everything too, but it's just, it can be shocking. Right. And one thing that I found is customers come in and they see you really haven't done anything different from the last time they were there, and the price has gone up significantly. Then they think, oh, you're just trying to gouge me, whatever. I'm going to go to another laundromat. Well, that other laundromat either may have also raised prices, but they're not going to know because they weren't there before, or that other laundromat may not be paying attention to what's going on and may not have raised their prices and, are losing money on their dryers, but also your customers going over there because it's cheaper. So that's when I notified customers on the self-serve side. Yeah. Joe Dan gets dog food.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, all right. Okay, cool. Great question to kick us off. Great answers over there from you guys and also the chat, as always. You guys got an opinion on Danny D'Angelo, the most controversial figure in laundromats, I would say?
I've never met Danny D'Angelo as a person, so I'll just throw that out there. When it comes to an individual, I try not to just, to judge people individually when I don't know them. I'm assuming they're not asking the question of the human being. I'm assuming they're asking the question of the platform, the freelaundromat.com, that kind of stuff. My thoughts on that is pretty extensive, actually. And I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I have bought his course, and I've completed his course back in 2015, ironically, after I'd already gotten a quote unquote free laundromat. So what I tell people is Dave Menz's personal opinion, having taken his course multiple times, having followed his platform for a while, don't really anymore, is that his information is not inaccurate. I certainly wouldn't tell you that. I have gotten a laundromat for free. The problem that I have with the information that he puts out there, and I know he's a marketer and things like that, is, in my opinion, I think he embellishes how easy it is to accomplish. I would never tell someone a free laundromat isn't a real thing, but they are, quite frankly, more of a needle in a haystack than not. And I will also say he's kind of had this platform and promoting this information for, the better part of 12 years at this point. And so when he started promoting his course and things like that, the information was more applicable back then. There's been a lot of impact in our industry when it comes to taking over zombie mats and fixing them up. I mean, our industry as a whole, probably a lot of people in this chat have taken over a lot of rundown, dumpy laundromats and made them very nice in the last 12 years. So my point is, as we attract more and more people in the industry, that are taking over these zombie mats and making them nice, whether they get them for free or for pennies on the dollar. There are less and less of those opportunities every single day. So that's my opinion. I'm not here to call anyone a fraud or anything like that. I mean, he seems like a fine guy to me. I've never met him personally. I've also heard that his online personality is kind of over the top intentionally, and that's really not who he is as an individual. But I know people in the chat actually know him as an individual, so they may have different opinions. But that's my opinion.
And I would just say, obviously we did get a free laundromat, but be careful of the free laundromat. There's likely a reason it's free. Is make sure you do that due diligence, because maybe it's because a competitor popped up and that's no longer a viable location, even though it was viable 10, 15, 20 years ago. Make sure you do the research, because just because it's free doesn't mean it's still a good purchase.
Fantastic advice.
I've got a video that I can't remember if it's out already or if it's coming up in the next week or two, but essentially the video says, if the free I agree with everything they just said, but the free laundromat is the riskiest way to get into this business. And the reason I say that, it seems a little counterintuitive because they're free and you're not putting all that money out up front. However, that location has already demonstrated that it's failed. It's already failed once. And now that could be for a variety of different reasons. And like Carla was alluding to, sometimes that's fixable and sometimes that's not fixable, depending on management and equipment and, all that stuff. But it is the riskiest way to get in there. So I would say if you're going the free laundromat route, don't go that way on your own. Find somebody who understands a business to make sure you're going the right way, because I've talked to in my consulting a ton of people who
Me too.
have either gone the free laundromat or the quote unquote cheap laundromat route, including myself. That's my first laundromat, where it just went south because it's a risky way to get in because they're not making money. There's no margins. Takes some time to ramp up. And if you don't have any capital behind you, you're very likely to fail there. So not everybody will agree with that opinion, but my opinion of that is, and that's based off talking to a lot of people, free laundromats are the riskiest way to get in the business.
I actually agree with that statement. You're a smart guy, Jordan.
Hey,
sometimes.
Thanks. You've been talking to my mom?
She paid me.
I saw someone asked about equipment mix. So do you all, I know Dave always, and everybody always says the bigger equipment, you want the bigger equipment. That's what our customers want. Every time we get bigger, then he says next time he's going to go even bigger. We're up to 80 pounders now. What do they go up to?
Oh, they go way beyond that.
I'd see 120s.
Yeah.
120.
I was this close to putting hundreds in our newest superstore that we built. And I backed out, but I was really close.
So what about 20s and 30s? Is there still a good market there for 20s and 30s? Or would you not go that small?
What do you think, Jordan? I'll let you take it first.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for 20s and 30s, but I do think the trend is leaning heavier on the heavier machines, on the larger machines. And I think there's a variety of reasons for that. One is, something that comes up on these Q&As a lot, which is throughput, right? Just getting people in there, getting their laundry done and getting them on their way to go do something else that they would rather be doing than laundry. Right. And so I think that the larger machines, but also on our side, margins tend to be better on the larger machines also. And so there's just a lot of positives that stack up for the larger machines. Now, I mean, caveat to that is that there's different demographics. There's different, you could be, in Houston where there's a lot of, oil workers or whatever, and they're just single dudes that are out there living
college campus.
Yeah. College campuses where, you need smaller machines there because they're just doing a week's worth of clothes or two. Let's be honest, if it's college campus, maybe they're doing like a month's worth stuff, but it's just for one person. So, be aware of your demographics, right? But generally speaking, I think the trend is going larger.
Think top loaders are obsolete?
Who are you asking?
Go ahead, Jordan.
Anyone who wants to answer.
I mean, depends on what you mean by obsolete, I think. I mean, I wouldn't put new top loaders in. I know Ross takes top loaders out, like that's like the first thing he does. I don't know if Ross, you throw like a a party when you buy a place that has top loaders, and then you just chuck them all off the roof. And I don't know. I could see Ross doing
Ross's
something like
keyboard
that.
is smoking, and so is Joe Dan.
Yeah, yeah, I know. They're all over this thing. I love it. Yeah, I mean,
Jordan pretty much covered it, but all I'm going to throw in there is
Yeah.
a rubber stamp of approval, because I know everybody needs that, is that Jordan hit the nail on the head at the end. Is the industry shifting towards bigger machines? It's not even disputable. If you're connected to this industry, you understand that this industry has shifted towards the larger capacity commercial grade equipment, no
Mhm.
doubt. Are there exceptions to that? Of course there are. You need to know your avatar. You need to know who your customer is that you're serving, because especially in a self-serve basis, you're only typically serving a 2, 3, 4 mile radius around your store in most cases. So you need to know your demographics. Is your ideal avatar a family of 4, 5, 6 in some cases? Or is it that single college student? Because that's how you should be making these decisions. And as I always say, this isn't a science, it's not a spreadsheet. This is an art. So there's not an answer, there are answers. And as Jordan mentioned earlier, regardless of how you get into the industry, until you are well established with your own business model, your own ideal avatars, the communities you're serving, you really know, which quite frankly, in my opinion, can sometimes take up to 7 to 10 years for an owner to really settle in. Because there was many, many times we thought we wanted to be one thing, and then we learned more about the industry, met other people, and said, ooh, maybe we want to be more of this than this. And we continue to pivot and tweak our model. So I wouldn't be too quick to throw anything out. Now, when you see people like Ross and even myself and Joe Dan and stuff like that, and Jordan, who are like, hey, get rid of the top loaders. Okay, well, we've been around long enough. We know who our ideal avatar is. We can read demographics in 15 minutes. We don't have to put a lot of thought into this, but don't be so quick to throw out the baby with the bathwater or whatever. Because the answer to every question is it depends. And now we know we're officially live.
that's right.
Only took 22 minutes.
It depends. All right, here's a question. Should you buy an existing or start from scratch? Carla, shed some wisdom on this for us.
Well, all of ours we bought and renovated. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. I would say it depends on what you can find
Oh,
in
it
your
depends.
market.
Did she just
I
say it?
know.
She's turning into
I know. I
us.
live with them. It just rubs off on me. But it depends if there is a good location in your market that is for sale, or perhaps they are willing to sell, then I would definitely say renovate. If you can't find a viable location in your market, then you can look to build. I really just think it depends on what's available.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what's available for sure. And also understand your market. So one thing you have to be really careful of, and this is kind of a unique live, because you have Carla and me here in the Midwest, lived here our entire lives. You have Jordan, who's out there on the left coast. And then quite frankly, you have you have a chat that's kind of a whole bunch of a lot of this stuff all over the world, literally China, Australia, stuff like that. So know your community, understand what you're looking at. And what I always tell people in coaching calls and stuff like that is, at the end of the day, the laws of supply and demand are undefeated. What you want to do is you want to try to be as close to what I call uncompetable as absolutely possible. So what's going to differentiate you from your competitors? You might have an opportunity to get a free laundromat, but it might be in an average location. Okay, well, if that location is growing fast, do you in 5 years want to find out that there's 5 laundromats competing with you, and all 5 of them have great locations, and here you are with an average location because you tried to save $100,000? Now, I know $100,000 is a lot of money, but over the course of a lifetime of an entrepreneur and the margins and the revenues and things like that that you can generate, quite frankly, if you're successful, it should be peanuts at some point in your career. And so these are all things you want to look at when you're taking these things into account. So,
And look at tap-in fees. They always say that too.
oh, absolutely, that's a great point. Absolutely. And what's it like out there? And I mean, I know, Jordan, for you guys, I mean, I know you guys are kind of building up because you're living on top of each other, and the apartments are just out, or cost of living is outrageous, and commercial property and things like that. What's it like for you out in LA? Is just and I realize you have more rural parts of LA too, but what's the more general term out there when it comes to, I mean, are there a lot of people building brand new laundromats from the ground up out there?
I would not say there's a lot. we have like a lot of laundromats. There's a lot of retooling going on
Mhm.
because there's a lot of
Mhm.
laundromats that need retooling. But
Mhm.
there are some people building. I mean, I think it's a little bit slower than it was, and maybe in the chat, Ross or somebody else here in LA can speak to this too. I think recently it slowed down. As costs have gone up, labor's gone
Mhm.
up, machine costs have gone up.
Mhm.
California is like the best, easiest to work with when you're building something new. They rubber stamp everything. No, it's like they make it very difficult. They make it very expensive. So Ross and I and Michael Ambrose looked to build out a laundromat. I think it was like 3,500 square feet. And the impact fees or the tap in fees that you were talking about, I think they were, Ross, I think they were like $390,000 for a 3,500 square foot laundromat. And
Just the tap-in fee.
just the feed. It's just a thumbs up. It's just
Mhm.
an, okay, we allow you to connect. It's not to actually connect. It's not for the any materials, no machines, no nothing. It's just like yeah. And that just killed that deal right there. So it depends on the area that you're in and all that. But there are, I mean, the thing about LA is that there's a lot of what we call zombie mats. And so there are holes where somebody can come in and build a brand new big laundromat, full service laundromat, and still do well in this market if they can plop down in the middle of a bunch of quote unquote zombie mats. So,
Okay. And that's what you don't want to be, is one of those zombie mats that's got
right.
top loaders.
That's right.
Yep.
We've got a lot of questions.
Yes, we do.
So let's keep rolling.
Absolutely.
Okay, we did that one. So somebody asked the pros and cons of buying versus leasing laundromats, and I'm assuming you mean the real estate for the laundromat. You guys have a short list of pros and cons?
We like to be able to buy them if we can, just as that additional investment. A lot of it depends on the landlord, and are they willing to sell, first of all, and how good are they to deal with? We had one not great landlord that we dealt
Still
with,
have one.
and it stinks. So that's one benefit definitely of buying the property. I don't know, Dave will probably talk more.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case. I mean, people say control is an illusion. Well, it is to a certain extent, but it's also not. If you own the property, of course, there's always going to be somebody you're answering to, local municipality, whatever. But at least you're not answering to an individual property owner. They come along and get a sweetheart deal for somebody to build a shopping mall or something like that, and they decide to, boot you out, and you might lose everything. I mean, crazy things happen. They can find loopholes to get out of leases to where you're, stuck sitting out in the road with your equipment. Those things do happen. The flip side of that equation is, I think, honestly, a more important conversation is to talk through the process of what are your long-term ambitions and goals and what are your short-term ambitions and goals. Because it's not necessarily always the best way to deploy capital if you're trying to gain cash flow. If your number one priority is just to improve cash flow, buying real estate can tie up capital. It can leverage you, and it can really not create a lot of cash flow, but it can create a lot of other really great. I think that's one of the things that people need to understand is there's not always, in fact, there's really never a right or wrong answer. It's what are your ambitions? What are you focusing on? If you're going to make cash flow as high as possible, then you probably don't want to take, let's say you have $1 million in liquid cash. You probably don't want to take that and pour half of it into a property that, if you're financing 75, 80% of, you're really never going to be able to get that back out unless you sell the property. Now, there's always a balance to that. And we're kind of in a situation where we're balancing maximizing existing locations. We're also in a market where we can afford to purchase the real estate. I'm sure you're going to talk to this, Jordan, but in some markets, it's just not an option. The property is just too expensive.
Land's a little cheaper here in Ohio.
A little bit.
No. And I have some clients who are just buying land and laundromats, and I'm like, dude, how? It's just everywhere. It's like laying around. You just pick it up. It's basically free. It's crazy.
Are they in
Okay. No, not here.
Oh, okay.
Just other like where you guys are at. And, I
Yeah.
don't know, flyover states, what we call you guys.
Right. We're aware.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, I think it depends on it depends, right? On what your goals are. And, if your goal, for example, is to get out of your 9-to-5 job as quickly as possible, you probably want to lease because you're going to be able to maximize your cash flow. And then once you've gotten to that point where you've accomplished that goal, that's where you can turn around and start investing that money in the real estate or, and one great option is to sign a lease that has what's called a first right of refusal clause in there. So that way, if the landlord decides to sell, they have to come to you and you get the first shot at it to buy it. So if your plan is to buy, but you're not ready to do that because you're trying to get out of your 9-to-5 or maximize your cash flow, whatever, you can insert a clause like the first right of refusal clause in there. And when that landlord is ready to sell, they got to come to you first, or at least let you have make a bid on it to match any existing bids or something like that. So, but I love buying laundromats with real estate whenever possible.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, the last thing I'll throw in there, Jordan, on that topic is, everything I just said, keep in mind that has a caveat too. Because if you can get a commercial property, which we did, in fact, both of our buildings, with no money down and seller financing, then you may not need to deploy capital. And that's easier said than done. We happen to have been able to do that twice and have a right of first refusal on a third of our 4. So back to the old, it depends, is don't necessarily assume it's just automatically good, automatically bad, or, I don't have a lot of capital, so I'm not even going to have the conversation. Always, always, always have conversations if you can, and look for how can I make this happen versus I can't, assuming that's part of your long-term strategy and goals.
Yeah. Okay. Holy
Man,
cow. I'm
chats
scrolling.
are blowing up.
Scrolling like crazy right now. Great answers, by the way, happening in the chat over there. So be paying attention.
Yep.
And, if you're not on a platform where there's a bunch of chat happening, because we're on a few platforms right now, check out, I think most of the chat's on the YouTube channels, Laundromat Resources, Laundromat Millionaire YouTube channels. So check those out if you're not on the chats.
Well, I just want to say one thing too, Jordan. Like you said, we're streaming on multiple platforms here. If you're on my channel, meaning our channel, Laundromat Millionaire, do us a favor. Go over to Jordan's YouTube channel, Laundromat Resource, and I always confuse those, Laundromat Resource, and give him a subscription. Give him a subscribe. Click that alert bell because Jordan is producing a lot of good content. And I will shamelessly plug, if you're on Laundromat Resource, do the same, because part of the reason that we collaborate and do all the things we do is because our audiences want to hear from both of us. Because quite frankly, I think Jordan's producing some pretty awesome content. The platform he's built, quite frankly, the shot in the arm that he's given the industry 2.5 years ago now, by just launching Laundromat Resource is pretty powerful stuff. So my point is, whoever's platform you're on, go to the other one, because I think you're going to find a ton of value on both platforms. And if you weren't aware that one or the other existed, I plug Jordan's platform all the time. He's doing a lot of great stuff over there. And we're doing a lot of stuff. And every once in a while, I stumble my toe and do something right. So
yeah, like bring Carla on board.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly right.
I just love that. I'm finally catching up to the end of the chat here, and I just love Colin. I'm skipping a whole bunch. We'll go back, but Colin was like, long time watcher, first time liver. I thought that was pretty funny.
You've officially graduated from being a lurker.
Yeah, not a lurker. You're a liver.
Welcome
now.
To the chat.
25 years old, new in my loan officer career, and eager to learn more. If you have to start again from zero, what would you do?
Well, we practically did start from zero.
Well, would you do it the same if you had to do it again, or would you do it different?
I mean, now I've seen how it's turned out, but as Dave has shared, I was definitely not all in from the beginning. The timing wasn't perfect. We bought our first laundromat as I was about to give birth to our third child. So definely not the best timing.
It's the third child. Everybody knows. Nobody cares about the
By
third.
number 3, they practically raised themselves, right?
The news is all of our kids are very independent.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's been such a blessing. It's been a journey. We've definitely had our hard times and definitely challenges along the way, but it's been a blessing. and it's good now to actually be involved in it. And, I left my teaching career, so I'm full-time in the laundromat industry now too. And so it's so nice to be able to help other people as they're at different points in the journey and try to help them avoid some of our most challenging moments.
Well, it's what I'll tell people is it's never going to be easy. So if you're under the illusion that it is, get rid of that illusion or get out, because it's not going to be easy. But I truly believe that it's easier in some ways, meaning content, connection, networking, even just technology of literally having cell phones, which, we didn't have 25 years ago, for example, technology of, virtual call centers and Google Voices and even controls on machines and card systems and things like that. It is easier to be successful nowadays than ever before, but make no mistake, that doesn't mean it's easy. So I always had the attitude, even when, Carla wasn't really totally on board with it. She was always very supportive, but wasn't totally on board. I always had the attitude of, there really isn't anything other than if it's illegal or if it's unethical, immoral, I won't do those. But short of that, there isn't much that I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice to make my businesses be successful. And if you're starting with and you're well capitalized and you have a lot of cash on hand, then you're probably going to have to make less tough decisions and make less sacrifices, but you're still going to have to make some. If you're starting from zero, meaning I know nothing about the industry, I have no information, and I have no cash, which is kind of where we were. We had very little cash. Be prepared for a significant grind. It doesn't mean you can't be successful. Let us inspire you to chase your dreams if these are your dreams. Don't let us talk you off the ledge, so to speak. Go ahead and jump. Just be eyes wide open as to what you're getting involved in. And Jordan, I'll let you talk, but you were better capitalized than us. In a minute, I said. In a minute, I'll let you talk.
We'll see. I'm timing
You
it.
just got to cut him off. That's what I do. I just start talking over top of them.
I don't want to say well capitalized, but you were better capitalized than us, but you still traveled a pretty rough road. So what are your thoughts on that side of the equation? I wouldn't say you started with zero, but I mean, zero education.
No. Yeah, near zero. I mean, there just wasn't a lot out there.
There wasn't.
When I got in, when you got in, there really wasn't, which is what, I mean, this is why this is so cool. I mean, yes, you get to, gaze upon Carla's beauty. You have to endure Dave's ugly mug, and you get to listen to the sweet, sweet sounds of my voice on here. But I mean, literally, I mean this literally, there is the Hall of Fame of laundromats in the chat right now. And by the way, Ross, go ahead and drop your Amex affiliate link in there. I see you've been peddling it. So I know you're itching to do it. Just drop it in the chat. Everybody go use Ross's Amex link. But there's a literal Hall of Fame here, and they're here answering your questions, like in the chat, like this. So
I'll just say it. They don't need to be here.
They don't need to be here.
But they are here. And what does that tell you about where you need to be? Now, obviously, everybody here is here, but you need to be at, Ross is promoting excellence in laundry there. He's going to be there in a little bit. And so will we. You can't be at everything. We understand that. But every opportunity you have to connect with other laundromat owners, do so. Don't pass that up.
Yeah. And so kind of getting to my point here finally is, things I would do differently. And like Dave said, I had a little bit of cash. I bought my first laundromat all cash and then financed equipment. But I lost a ton of money. I did really bad. I struggled for a really long time. And a big part of the reason for that is because I didn't connect with anybody in the business. I didn't know how to, I didn't know where to. I tried to talk to other laundromat owners in my area, and I got kicked out of a bunch of it was like hostile, and I just scarred me. And thankfully that culture is starting to change, at least online, if not in person. And so connect with these people, right? Like Dave and I both have podcasts. We've both had guests on. Just about every single guest that we've had on the platforms, on our podcasts, have left contact information. Use it. Like Ross Dodds is here. Joe Dan Reed is here. Mark Vlaskamp is here. Wally Cope is here. There and more. Look at late to the party. Sharon's here now. Like this is literally the legends of the industry, and they all have their contact information on our podcast, right? So contact them and learn from them and lead with offering something, to them too. And,
Mhm.
just so that if I had to do it all differently, I would be connecting with more people, uh, who are in this industry beforehand. And then specifically for my situation, if I could go back right now, I would pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars to talk me out of buying that specific first laundromat that I bought because I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right. And so, but all that goes away if you're educating yourself and you're finding people who are experienced in this industry that you can learn from, as you're getting in. So, uh, yeah, that's what I would do differently.
What about coaching?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, you weren't, independently wealthy, but I mean, you had more resources than us.
Mhm.
I don't know that it even existed back then. It seemed like the distributors kind of all, you know, kind of kept that under wraps, if you will. I don't know. There were too many independent consultants back when you and I started in the industry.
Mhm.
But if you were starting today,
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's a better money you can spend before you go. I forget. I think it was Brian Wallace, maybe at CLA. He made a comment one time about spend a few $1,000s before you spend a few $100,000.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, that's that's simple, but quite an epiphany.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And my nature, this is just how, and this is something I'm actively fighting against, but my nature is go learn the lessons myself. But I had to learn some very hard, very expensive lessons to learn the lesson of I can learn the lessons a lot easier, faster, and cheaper by learning them from somebody else. And that's why now I'm in a group. I pay $10,000 a year to be in this mastermind group,
Mhm.
and I'm connecting with people like Dave and Carla, and half the chat over here, and
Mhm.
like because I mean it's so you can one of the things I've been saying a lot lately is when you work with the best people, you can reach much bigger goals much faster than if you're trying to go on your own or even just trying to do the research and learning on your own. There's value in that too, but you can reach much bigger goals much faster by utilizing, a coach, a mentor, something like that. And, obviously Dave offers, consulting and workshops that help with
Mhm.
that. We do too over at Laundromat Resource. And there's other people out there who are doing it who are probably frankly better looking, but not as good at what they do as us, I would say. So,
I thought for sure you were going to say your life changed drastically when we met, but
I
that's
mean, it
not what you
did.
said. So I'll say it.
It didn't get better, but it changed drastically.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, as long as I was an important pivot point in your journey.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so are laundromats dead? Self-service specifically, self-serve
Mm,
laundry dead? Is the future all pickup and delivery and wash, dry, fold? I think it's a great question.
I think it's a great question too. What do you think, Carla?
I think that if you saw our cameras this past Wednesday, you would say no.
Oh, nice.
So this past Wednesday, we had our 1 year anniversary of our big mega superstore.
Mhm.
And so we did free wash and it was crazy. It was crazy busy. No, I think that there's different levels of the market. And I think it's important that we still offer self-serve for the people that need the cheapest option. And that is to do the laundry themselves. And we can provide that at the cheapest rate, obviously, because we're not paying for, payroll. But then, we have that middle tier option of drop off for the people who want to be able to drop it off and pick it up. And then the most expensive option is pickup and delivery. And I think that there is a market, at least in our area, for all three. I think you need to know your market and decide for yourself in your market. But I would say most markets out there, there's some of all three. So,
Well, another thing to remember too, Carla and Jordan, is with self-serve, remember that they're not coming from nowhere. They're coming from somewhere. And so when we say a self-serve dying, relative to what? So I always compare this to, I always say, use the term a modernized laundromat, right? A nice modern laundromat with technology and proper throughput and newer equipment and great customer service, great location, all the things we talk about all the time. This chat, this comment, these powerhouses we're talking about, this is a growing segment in the industry. Now,
mhm.
is the industry growing? I can't speak to that, but I can tell you for sure that the modernized laundromat is absolutely on an uptick. And what's happening is whether it's a zombie mat or even what I call a plain Jane mat, a no frills mat, or even compared to like what I call laundry rooms in your apartment complexes and things like that, they're dying. I'm not saying they're going to die, but they are shrinking at a minimum and dying a very slow death. But where are those people going? They're probably not jumping from a couple crappy top loaders in an apartment laundry room to full service pickup and delivery at $2.49 a pound. That's probably not happening in most cases, but that doesn't mean they're not upgrading their life and appreciating their value and their time more than ever before. So I think what I would say is our industry is drastically shifting. And if you're in the bottom of that industry or serving people that think along that way, meaning what I call a commodity mindset, I think that is shrinking at best case scenario and dying at a worst case scenario. So I think that's important to remember too. But I actually think what I would categorize as our segment, the people that are here tonight, I think we're exploding. I think we're finding more business than ever before. What do you think, Jordan?
No, I mean, I think it's dying. No, I don't think. I think it's that. I mean, kind of what you're saying. Like, I think it is in a sense consolidating, right? I think
Consolidation, good word.
there are a lot of zombie mats that, frankly, aren't surviving and aren't going to continue to survive. Increased labor costs, increased utility costs, increased rents, and as machines continue to deteriorate, like there's just going to be a lot that, and we're seeing a ton of those here in California. I mean, kind of around a lot of the laundromats. There's a huge demand and a relatively small supply for laundromats right now. And there was a question about this kind of somewhere in here. But a lot of what I'm seeing is that's on the market is really solid laundromats priced at a really high premium, and really junky zombie mats priced at a really high premium. And like, that's a lot of what I'm seeing on the market right now in a lot of places. And I think a lot of those zombie mats will probably end up not selling, or they're going to sell to people who didn't take our advice in the last question and didn't reach out to people who know the business and who are going to end up going the route I went and losing a lot of money because they bought a laundromat thinking they can turn it around, and the fundamentals just aren't there for a lot of those laundromats. So I think, a lot of, I think the standard is increasing finally in our industry. Right. And like you said, people are still doing their laundry, whether they're doing it at the zombie mat down the street, or if they move over a few blocks down a little further to the bigger, newer, nicer laundromat where the owner is reinvesting in the business and taking care of, customer service, and is keeping machines working, and is keeping the place clean, and is holding, normal hours, and keeps the hot water heater on, and, leaves all of the lights on, like all the typical things that zombie mats I see, like turn off half the lights to save money. Well,
yes.
Who wants to be in a dark laundromat? It's scary, right? Or turn off hot water to save the gas costs. Well, I mean, people need the hot water to do their laundry, or at least they feel like they do. So, So anyways, I think that there probably is a consolidation there. I do think that pickup and delivery, there's much more to go, much more business to be had, both on the residential and commercial side, and same with drop off. But I don't see self-serve going away, but maybe consolidating more.
Well, one thing you hit on, Jordan, and one thing you didn't say, so I want to point out, is that there's a lot of zombie mats for sale that are overpriced. There's a lot of what I call plain Jane laundromats for sale that are overpriced. What I didn't hear you say is there's a lot of modernized laundromats for sale, because there aren't, right? Why aren't there? Because they're killing it. Because they are absolutely killing it. So let's stop this false narrative that the people spending a lot of money on equipment and facilities and operations and building a team and infrastructure and all these different things are somehow losing money, because that's a narrative that a lot of the OGs in the industry have really promoted for a long time. And that is crazy town. Yeah. If you know these people, and a lot of them are in the chat, once again, we'll keep saying it. You talk to these people, they might not say it publicly, But trust me, in the back of the room or at dinner, or you get Ross drinking a little too much, he'll tell you way more than you want to know. I'm just kidding. But anyway,
Actually, you're
the-
not.
No, you're not kidding. That wasn't
He
a
does
joke.
if he's not
I think
mature
Ross
for
would
that.
admit to that.
That's probably
Especially if you're buying.
right.
Ross, we're
Ross
gonna
will
get you
tell you.
Amex points and we're gonna get you drinks. This is like gonna be the best live
Absolutely.
Q&A ever for you.
Oh,
Ross is
my.
going to leave this this live tonight with a head bigger than he already was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I think
awesome.
we killed that narrative for sure. There is plenty of opportunity to grow in all segments of our industry if you do things the right way. And Ross likes wine.
And Ross likes wine.
Loves
Yeah,
wine. Thank you, Joe Dan. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep this thing rolling. There's like a huge list of questions still. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
How do you find laundromats, biz bin, biz buy sell? It's falling short. I think they're in Houston. The person who's asking this.
We found our first one on Craigslist.
Isn't that where everybody goes?
Some people do.
Is
I know
Craigslist still live? Do they have still a website?
Still there. Still kicking.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I was about to say something, but I won't. I know we recommend too, like the distributors in your area, especially if you can get relationships with a distributor or a couple distributors. A lot of times they know which laundromats maybe are for sale and haven't even been listed yet. They just know that the current owner is looking to sell. So that could be a good resource as well.
What about business brokers, Mr. Business Broker?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I
What do
think
you think?
laundromat specific brokers and
Which, by the way, those are in big cities like LA and New York, but that's not in Cincinnati.
I would say,
That's not a
and
thing.
small business brokers who specialize in just small businesses in general.
Sure.
Yeah. And, and I say this a lot, but the key is you gotta build a relationship with these guys and gals who are the brokers, because that's where the deals are going to happen. And it's when the broker tries to sell a laundromat or any business really to the people they already know and none of them bite, that's generally when they end up on biz bin, biz buy sell. Not to say those can't be good deals or can't be turned into good deals, but you want to get those deals before they end up on those sites. And the way to do that is to build relationships with brokers. And that's easier said than done a lot of times, because you've got to be persistent. You've got to be the one to carry that relationship, because, they're working with a lot of people and they don't have time to waste with tire kickers. And there's a lot of tire kickers in our industry right now. Thank you, Cody Sanchez and
Jordan
crew.
Berry.
So, and Dave Menz. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And
good news is we're attracting good people too, though.
Yeah. And so I'm writing down questions, and this is again way down the line, but this is very relevant here. Julia says, any tips on how to kick off a relationship with the distributor when we're not quite sure when we will enter the business, like maybe the next 12 to 24 months? And real quick, I'll just say, and then I'll let you guys ramble on or Dave at least ramble on forever. I think distributors are more than happy to answer questions, and that's a great way to initiate a relationship with the distributors. Ask questions, let them know like, hey, I'm looking to buy a laundromat, but it's probably going to be a year. Can you tell me about the different types of machines? Can you explain to me, what types of machines are good for what types of areas? Just asking questions, learning, and allowing them to be an expert. Number one, it makes them feel good. And that goes a long way in terms of building a relationship. Number two is educating yourself. And then number three, they get that sense of, okay, when you're ready to go, they already have a good sense that you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and they have a good sense of who you are as a person. And so again, they're going to be more likely to help you that little extra step along the way. So you guys want to add something?
Carla, you got anything?
12 to 24 months out, I would be worried that they would just think you're a tire kicker and not talk to you maybe as much. I would say that far out, just educate yourself as much as you can, doing the stuff you're doing, like follow the podcast, get on the different sites, learn about the different types of equipment. You can start reaching out to distributors and getting a feel for them and see if, what resources they recommend for you to look into. Let them know that you're taking this seriously, that you're not just a tire kicker.
Yeah. What I want to add to this is something both of them have touched on. So for those of you that don't know, our equipment distributor is now one of our best friends, one of my best friends. So I have a unique perspective into an equipment distributor, especially the best, because they're one of the best ones out there. Equipment distributors that focus on vended laundry, they spend about 90% of their time fighting off tire kickers.
Mhm.
So one of the things as a newbie in the industry, you need to understand is you don't have a relationship, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt because by default, the numbers are not in your favor. You may know you're a future rock star. They can't know that. So you need to give them the benefit of the doubt, meaning that if you go in with the attitude of, I'm a valued customer and you want to sell me equipment and you should want to earn my business and you should bow down to me and worship my feet in case I someday buy washers and dryers, they're going to boot you out the back door in about 5 seconds because the odds of you being what you even think you are almost zero in their minds. But when you shift your perspective and you say, okay, the best, not all, but the best equipment distributors have more business than they have time. And that they still have 90% of the newbies that walk through the door are going to waste their time. By default, what would you do if you were a business owner? If you were that distributor, what would you do with your time? You would give each of those tire kickers a few minutes and you would probably make a very quick snap judgment and you would probably make a decision based on that that could cost you a sale, but you're going to be just fine anyways. Now you can call that arrogant, you can call that condescending, whatever you want. There's probably some truth to that stuff in there, but at the end of the day, there isn't a more valuable relationship out there than with a rockstar equipment distributor. I'll say it until the end of time. Now, there's plenty of bad distributors, plenty of okay distributors. If you build a rock solid long-term relationship with a rock star equipment distributor, the likelihood of your success is probably just increased by 50%. But understand that that's not a 2-month, meet for lunch twice conversation. It's a lifelong journey. I'm still investing in that relationship heavily every day at 13 years in. So I hope that gives you a little bit of kind of the backdoor, seeing it through a different perspective. Because if you just walk into the dealership like you're walking into a car dealership and you say, okay, sell me a car, tell me why I should buy that Ford Mustang or whatever. That's not how this works, guys. This is business to business relationships. This is not business to consumer relationships. And they're very different. I happen to have, honestly, just by dumb luck, gotten into the industry the right way, built a relationship with a rock star equipment distributor in that way. But I still to this day attribute about 50% of our success in the industry to that relationship. But I invested heavily in that relationship and I still do to this day. So doesn't mean all distributors are great. In fact, a lot of them are clowns. But at the end of the day, if you find a good one, man, treat them like the gold that they are. And if you're not sure yet, treat them all like gold. Invest in that relationship. And unfortunately, some of them may burn you. But I'm passionate about that and education and networking, which is a different conversation. That was my short answer. You want my long answer?
All right, here's the thing is that we've gotten through literally 8 questions and we've got about 45. So
who's hosting this thing? Come
rapid
on,
fire
man.
here.
Let's
I'm
go.
about to be
Boom,
cutting
boom, boom.
people off. I'm gonna
Do it.
take over.
Give
all right.
Dave a timer.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. He'll just do it right there.
I'll just keep talking.
What's the best alternative to quarters? Is it an app system, loyalty card system, dollar coins? What's the best alternative to quarters?
It depends.
On what?
It depends on how many stores you have. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your desired lifestyle. It depends on your pocketbook. Having a card system is great. But if you have one store, is it necessary? It also depends on your the answer may be yes, by the way. I'm not saying it's no. It also depends on your demographics. Some demographics, now these are very misunderstood. I completely agree with that. But some are better to card systems and less to coins. And so you have to balance all of those things and also perspective. Where are you at in your journey? If you're early on in your laundromat journey, it may be indisputable that a card system is your future, but shouldn't be your present because you're running a zombie mat. And if you go in there and don't fix up the facility and improve the plumbing and put new equipment in before you go through a card system in your store, I mean, what in the world are you doing? So the answer to this question always depends on, there's many different factors involved in it. And it's why I get quite frankly, pretty frustrated with a lot of people in the industry that just throw out blanket statements like coins are the only thing. And if you buy a card system, you're crazy, and vice versa. Cards are always the way to go. Sure, if you have 100 laundromats and you're collecting quarters, I mean, you're kind of a fool. And I think we can all, I think we can all kind of attest to that today. Excuse me, but there's a lot of factors involved in it.
I think Ross would disagree and just say put in a card system.
I know he would.
Yeah.
It's okay. He's wrong sometimes. He's usually right.
Well, and he also falls into that
Ross.
having a bunch of locations.
He does.
I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't
Ross
own
has,
one laundromat.
I think 13 right
Is
now.
it
And
87 or something?
yeah, he's hot on the heels of the Wilfords, man. I think he's got 13 and a pick up and delivery warehouse over there. So
yeah, I think that. Sorry, the other thing I was going to say, Jordan, is think about the context of the advice you're getting. So if you talk to Jody and Kelly, you talk to Ross, I mean, they have they have over 10 stores.
Ross
so
said he agrees with you, actually.
Yeah, well, because Ross is a smart guy.
Smart guy.
All right, I'll stop talking. I think we get the idea.
Yeah, it does depend. And if you're struggling to figure that out, hey, you got a lot of people right here in the chat and on this screen that have some experience with that and can help you think through what it depends on and how that plays into your life and the specific laundromat or laundromats that you're looking at. Okay.
I'm gonna frame this. I agree with Dave. Screenshot.
It's gonna be up behind you on the next one. Yeah, for sure.
Now all I need is Mark Vlaskamp to agree with me on by the pound wash dry fold.
Oh, I don't know. He kills it in the bag. So
but
I
think he just did a flyby. I don't think he's even here anymore.
Yeah.
If he is, let's
talk trash about him now.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're buying an established laundromat, should you use cash or he's there? Oh man,
never.
Mark is not a lurker after all. I knew I could pull him out of the weeds.
Mark, come on. He said never. Not a flyby. He's there. He's probably
lurking in the background, taking.
He's probably
notes.
Folding laundry right now, doing like $1 million a day or something along.
I thought for sure he wasn't out here anymore.
I know. I was really looking forward to making fun of him. That's hilarious. Okay, Mark, we don't have time for your shenanigans.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're buying an established laundromat, should you buy cash or should you use a loan?
I think that depends on what your plans are for the laundromat. I would rather go with a loan and then use that cash to make the laundromat better. So I don't know. I'm sure you all have opinions.
It depends. Ross for sure is loan. Ross is like, put it on my Amex.
Is very anti-debt.
And I am flying to Dubai for the weekend on the points. Yeah, I mean, listen, it does depend. I personally am very much along the same lines. I think leveraging is a great wealth builder if you do it properly. And listen, so go listen to episode 99 with Ross on the Laundromat Resource podcast if you're interested in this, because we talk a lot about this. And Ross is very much proponent of leverage, and he uses all kinds of leverage, which is why he should drop his Amex link in the chat there. Yeah, he'll use all kinds of different leverage, right? But he's also a very experienced owner, right? And so you've got to use it according to where you're at. And I think, brand new, still leverage is great because it actually, it splits the risk between you and whoever you're getting money from, and it can increase your return on investment. And there's a lot of perks to that too, to using the leverage. And specifically, if you get leverage from a laundromat specific lender, somebody who also understands the business, you get the benefit of their wisdom, their experience, their network, all of that, right? So I think there's benefits, to getting the loan. Like I said, I bought all cash my first laundromat, mostly out of ignorance, to be honest with you. And if I had to do it over again, I would definitely use leverage. And I would have spent that same amount of money on a better performing laundromat with a loan. But you can buy cash, and there's nothing wrong with buying cash either. So it depends on kind of your goals and your situation. Some people are trying to, get a tax break, and so they need to deploy a lot of cash, and there's a lot of different reasons there. So
Just make sure
But
you're not starting your business cash poor.
yeah,
Sometimes they're not always profitable from day one.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to remember here is, and I tell my coaching clients this all the time, guys, is if you take out, if you have, if the alternative is cash, or say you're in Jordan's position, you have, I don't know how much money, but significant amount of money, you could pay
millions.
cash for billions. You could pay cash for a laundromat, but you decide to leverage it. Okay, well, what are you doing with that cash? If that cash is doing nothing other than reducing your risk and giving you proper runway or even exceeding runway, then that's one thing that's important to understand. Because what I always tell my coaching clients is, if you have the cash but you choose to leverage, your risk, honestly, in my opinion, doesn't change really at all. Because let's
Or it
say you
goes
have,
down.
yes,
Yeah.
let's say you have 400,000 in cash and you take out a 400,000 loan, and you, a year from now, you regret that and you say, man, I wish I had taken all my cash and bought this laundromat. Well, a year from now, what's to stop you? Now, if you go buy a house in Hawaii, for example, then okay, now your
Big
cash
if.
is gone.
You're
Okay, well,
crushing
now you
Jordan's
better have been
dream.
right about the leverage, right? So if the conversation is cash or leverage and you have cash, I'm always going to tell you to leverage it, because you can always, if you regret it down the road, you can always take that cash and pay off your debt. Now, if the conversation is shifting a little and now we're talking about, okay, I don't have the cash, but I can make this deal happen through leverage, that's when you have to balance your risk and say, when do I reach a point where too much leverage, too much debt, too fast takes my risk profile too high to where now I'm uncomfortable, or I'm putting my entire portfolio at risk. Those are the kind of conversations you need to have with yourself. And then the last thing I'll throw in there is, what allows you to sleep good at night? What gives you peace? Because it's never worth borrowing money or too much money if it
Mhm.
costs you and your family peace. Just Dave Men's opinion for what it's worth. But
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty fair conversation to be had in there.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to just address Julie's question again. We're skipping a bunch here, but she asked about women in the industry. And Carla, maybe you can speak to the good, the bad, and the ugly. But real quick, this is actually an exclusive right here, first time ever. Is Lauren Burkowski, who is a previous guest of the podcast. She's going to be a guest on the podcast again in like 2 or 3 weeks. And following that podcast, we're actually doing Laundromat Resources going to with Lauren, who's one of the consultants with Laundromat Resource. By the way, you can book a call with her. We're actually going to do a women's online, for now, meetup for women in the industry here in, well, we're trying to nail down the date. So as soon as the date comes out, you'll get an email. It'll be on the website. It'll be on the podcast, all that. You'll hear about it. But we're going to do a meetup for women in the industry and women who want to get into the industry, because there's nothing for women. Like there's nothing. Like we have like the Carla Menses, we have the Sharon Brinkses, and there's no, that I know of, at least there's no kind of gathering point for women there. And so we're going to start doing that. And Lauren is super psyched about kind of heading that up and getting women together in the industry. So be looking out for that. But Carla, if you want to address.
I don't know. I might be a minority here. I feel like there's plenty for women. Information is for everyone. I guess I grew up with a brother. So like for me, yes, the industry is mostly composed of guys, but that's not an issue for me. Like I don't feel like I'm left out or mistreated or anything. So I know it, sorry, women's led people.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's like necessarily being mistreated, but it's a male dominated industry.
It definitely is.
It's definitely male heavy. And so, having a place for women to kind of share their unique experience in laundromats, I think is a good thing.
Well, and I know like some women are a little more uncomfortable speaking up or speaking out in a male dominated room. For me personally, that's never been an issue for me. So, I don't care if I'm speaking up and the guys don't want me to. I just will anyway.
Talking about. That's why you're on here right now.
There you go.
We don't care.
Because I can talk over top of Dave.
That's why when we started dating, after I introduced Carla to my parents, few days later, I asked my dad what he thought. And he said, I think she's perfect for you. I think she's for one of the few women that can handle you.
Because I'll put him in his place.
And he was right. So Carla was already pretty good at it when we met, but now she's had 20 years of practice. So she can handle a room full of guys.
Yeah. Joe Dan says Kelly's the brain of our business. Nope. Yeah.
Well, and I don't see Kelly. Kelly wouldn't be shy either. If she has something to say, she'll say it.
Not. I love
absolutely
it. Not. All right. Rapid fire question. Best guerrilla marketing tactic. Ready, go.
I don't know if it's guerrilla. Like, honestly, Google AdWords is still the best. That's where we get the most bang for our buck. We have tried everything. We've had billboards, we've had flyers, we've had in newspapers, we've even done commercials like on TV. We've done it all. And honestly, the best bang for your buck is still Google AdWords.
That was specifically a question somebody asked, so we can just skip that one if it's the best bang for your buck. Interesting.
I mean,
best bang for your buck. I mean, this is low-lying fruit here, but it's goodwill. It's doing good things, treating people the right way, day after day after day, hour by hour by hour, always doing the right thing. The reason that people don't like that, it's not sexy and they don't want to talk about it, is because it's not typically fast. Typically takes some time to snowball, but I tell you what, once it starts to snowball, it's powerful stuff. And you take that kind of stuff and then you add Google AdWords and geofencing and some of the amazing technology, proper SEO on a well-designed website and things like that. That's what the best in the industry are doing, guys. Sure, we try all kinds of stuff to see if anything new works, better, different, whatever. But that's what the best in the industry are doing. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And just for anything, you're throwing away your money if you spend a lot of money in advertising and it quote unquote works and people come to your business and it's not run well and they don't have a great experience. So definitely get your basics in line first. Make sure you're treating your customers well. Make sure their experience is top notch. That is kind of the best guerrilla marketing that there is. Couldn't agree more. Just throw one more thing in there is turning your existing customers into your sales force. So whatever that is, self-serve, pick up, delivery, wash, dry, fold, and making them your ambassador and even incentivizing them to be your sales force. Put something in it for them if they bring on new people. And that can be super effective also. What type of corporation should you have for your laundromat?
We have, like, are you talking about, like, we have all LLCs. And one thing that is kind of different is that we do have a separate LLC for our delivery and then for our laundromats. And that was recommended by our attorney just for liability's sake. So all of our drivers and our trucks, basically the logistics side of things, is under one LLC if they're in an accident or whatever. And then our laundromats are on a different LLC. And then we also have separate LLCs for the buildings that we own, like the property that we own. So we have several LLCs.
Yeah, I think there's a lot involved there. Your overall strategy, your current wealth position, your long-term vision. Obviously, none of us here are attorneys that I know of. But different states, there's different strategies. Heck, different countries, there's different strategies involved. You may own a business in this country, but not actually be a citizen, and that may change the perspective. I wouldn't know the answer to that question, but every situation is unique, and so I'm a big fan of if you want to do basic legal documents or something like that, and you want to get them on LegalZoom or something like that, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you need true legal advice, seek out a legal professional.
Well, and I think you should have, this is my official recommendation, is have a lawyer and have a CPA communicate with each other and with you, because there's one structure that might be good for your legal protection, a different structure that might be good for tax reasons. And having those two, instead of being the middle person, having those two communicate with each other about the best for your particular situation and your particular business or businesses, it can be great. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can have an LLC hold a bunch of S corps. You can have a C corp holding multiple LLCs that hold multiple S. I mean, and it all kind of depends on your specific situation. So Ross says he's got 15 LLCs. It's awesome. My tax guy
That's
would
fun
love
bookkeeping.
you.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason hit the nail on the head. So I just got to call attention to this because one of his comments earlier we overlooked, but it was correct too about financing. But he says, get professional advice on your structure, comma. It will also be tied into the earlier question around how you finance your business. He's at 100% absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I know that may seem like a cop out, kind of a vague question, but that very well said, Jason. Very well said.
Yeah. There's a question. I'm gonna kind of answer it and defer it to a different source. So we'll basically skip it. But the question is, what to use to verify a revenue other than tax returns. And I'll just say that, on my YouTube channel, I have multiple videos on. I have a free 3-part course on the YouTube channel called "How to Buy Your First Laundromat." The third part of that is all about due diligence, and that will explain exactly how you can verify income. Dave, I think you've got some stuff too. I don't know if you want to point with something specifically.
We've got a new owner's course as well.
Yeah.
It's an online course. It's 10 modules, but part of that does go through the due diligence as well as is the laundromat industry right for you, layout, financing, all that kind of stuff. So it has 10 modules.
Yeah, that Laundromat Millionaire course is good, and on the acquisition side of things. Okay. Best way to start a pickup and delivery wash, dry, fold from scratch if you own a self-serve laundromat.
Come to our workshop.
Oh, Carla.
She's on fire. She's like, buy our course. Come to our workshop. This is great.
She always says she isn't good at sales. Look at
She
her.
didn't even
now.
hesitate.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't going to even say that. Look at her.
She did not even
that's
hesitate.
the easy way. Yeah. So we started with just we first had just self-serve. We bought a laundromat that had wash, dry, fold. That's how we got into the wash, dry, fold. And then when we bought our 4th location, it was very large. That's where Dave heard about pickup and delivery from the Clean Show, actually. So go to the Clean Show. You can learn lots of new information there. And that's where we started pickup and delivery. And honestly, we lost money for quite a while at first because we tried various ways that did not work, which is part of why we do the workshop now, is to teach people what we learned about how to do it without losing money, but how to do it and actually be profitable. And the strategies we use, we believe work in any market. And, Dave has coached owners from all over the country. And it doesn't matter if you don't have to be in the middle of Brooklyn like Waleed, where you're surrounded with millions of people. So I would recommend the workshop, but you can find a lot of resources on our YouTube channel. We've done a lot of videos about pickup and delivery. So get nuggets wherever you can. I don't know.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add to it is from a very simplistic approach. Let's say you can't afford or something to go to the workshop. Always start smaller. Now, what that's going to do is keep you from growing as fast, typically, unless you're once again in New York or something. But it's always safer and more conservative to start a pickup and delivery business with a small geographic area. And then as you start to get your bearings, you scale out. Now, what you'll learn is as you scale out, some of the things that worked when you were small don't work as you scale out geographically. And so you're going to have new pain points involved in that. But what I'm saying is if you don't have a coaching, you don't have a workshop, you're just kind of going to lone wolf it and that type of thing. Start small and, just understand that what you're building isn't going to grow as fast. If you're looking to grow fast, if you're looking for quote unquote cheat codes, coaching, accelerating the process, then you need to invest some money in coaching and workshops and even attending conferences and hearing speakers speak and give their own opinions and pulling golden nuggets out and things like that. Those are really, in my opinion, kind of from a macro perspective, those are the 2 ways to approach pickup and delivery. If you try to go big and grow fast without coaching and a workshop and things like that, you're either going to crash and burn or you are going to burn 6 figures in cash flow for a couple of years. And by the way, we did the latter. We burned.
You can see Ross in the comments did too.
Yep, absolutely. And I appreciate it, guys. There's several people in the chat here that have attended our workshops.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes,
Irene.
appreciate it. Absolutely. These people are absolute rock stars for sure. But they attended the workshop. They paid the money. You'll see on our website, laundromatmillionaire.com. It's not cheap to attend, but you're talking to people who have attended and they feel like it was a good investment for them or they wouldn't have recommended it for you. But there's not a right or wrong way to do it. But those are, in my opinion, those are kind of the two channels I recommend.
And I would say the biggest thing is watch your costs. I mean, that's honestly the hard part of it is it's very easy for your costs to get out of hand. I know Ross mentioned it, and with us, the growth wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
We were pulling in more and more revenue every month,
Yep.
but it wasn't in line. We weren't being efficient with our costs.
We were losing
and so
more and more
we
money.
weren't profitable. Our revenue was great. Our profit was negative.
Don't chase that gross revenue. That's a
Yes.
false.
Yeah. Two quick
false
things I
narrative.
want to say is
Yep.
number one, I feel like I don't think you guys meant this, but I feel like the implication was in New York is easy. New York is not
Oh,
easy
no.
for it to grow.
no.
The point was that there's a lot of people there versus, and they're all very dense. So if you're in New York thinking about starting Fluff and Full, I just don't want you to think that it's going to be easy or pick up
No.
and delivery. It's going to be easy. It's not.
That was
Waleed-
more a comment about the on-demand versus the route-based.
Yeah, totally.
We do teach route-based because we believe it works at every market, where on-demand is more for specific markets.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody
Oh,
that it's
100%.
not easy in a New York, a Chicago, and LA. It's
No,
difficult.
I'll say the other thing, Jordan. I mean, while your logistics are easier because you can serve such a small area, typically are easier. You can serve such a small area, and your logistics kind of take care of themselves. The counter to that is you have way more competition. You have price depression. You have costs of rent and things like labor costs. A lot of times are a lot higher. We are absolutely not here to insinuate in any way, shape, or form that it's easier. The logistical aspect of it is probably easier,
Simpler.
because you can just simpler. Thank you. Is just a microcosm of it is all. But no, I'd argue in a lot of ways. Thank you for clarifying. I'd argue in a lot of ways in those big cities, because it's such a competitive landscape, you got an awful lot working against you that we don't. All we got to do is get it right, and we're 100% guaranteed to be successful. If you're in a market with an over penetration of supply versus demand, I mean, you can get it right, but if 10 other people get it right, maybe not all 10 of you are going to make it.
Yeah.
So
I just
thank
want
you
to make
for
sure everybody
clarifying
was
that.
clear on that. My second point, I wanted to kind of disagree with something you said, Dave. And you said
Oh boy.
that this is going to benefit you though, is you said that your workshop is expensive, and I know how much it is. And I know that what you're saying is some people can look at that and see that it's expensive. When I look at that price, I see, holy cow, I could learn everything I need to know to build a 6-figure plus business for that amount of money. To me, it feels very inexpensive or valuable there. So I wanted to kind of reframe that a little bit, because I know that, what you're saying is it can seem that way at first, but it's not. And like you said, over the lifetime of this, it really becomes probably less than a drop in the bucket what your workshop costs. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. And like I said, my natural mindset would be if I had seen that when I first got into this business, I probably wouldn't have done your workshop, to be honest with you, because it would have felt very expensive to me. Right now, having gone through what I went through, and all the pains of learning all those lessons, I would well, I'm not going to say I would pay you more than that, because you might have your price, but I mean, it feels like a huge bargain, to be honest with you. So, and there's people vouching for that there in the chat. So I just wanted to say that. All right, we got to move, people. Come on. I'm going to just answer this one. Somebody asked what's a decent price per square foot for a lease, and the answer to that is it depends. Here's a little tool that you can use to kind of ballpark. Two suggestions. Number one is you can talk to a commercial real estate broker or a laundromat broker, if there are those in your area, and figure out what a good lease. I was going to say rent and then lease came out lease rate is in your area, and they can help you kind of figure out what a good rate is. The other thing you can do is go to loopnet.com and just look for similar types of retail properties and see what price per square foot they're offering in similar properties to the laundromat that you're looking at. So
one last thing I'll throw in there, Jordan.
Oh God, every time.
Because I know you asked.
Okay, go ahead.
One last thing I'll throw in there is pro forma it out. Make the numbers work. I mean, I think in the laundromat industry, we're really bad about just, we can buy it for $35,000. I know I can finance the equipment. Let's roll with it. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on, and we were successful despite me, is not doing my numbers properly. So whether it's pickup and delivery, self-serve, lease, whatever it is, make sure you pro forma everything out and always go on the conservative side. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And Aminu chiming in
Yeah.
from Ghana.
Ah,
We are,
Ghana,
yes.
China.
what is that?
Dude,
4 continents?
we're straight international.
Gosh,
We are
4 continents.
international.
Welcome,
This is an
welcome.
international live event.
International.
I
Yeah.
kind of feel like Tony Robbins right now.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You look like Tony Robbins.
I know.
Soft mount versus hard mount.
Oh, geez. Seriously? But 5 minutes ago?
Should we skip
Are you
it?
kidding me?
It depends.
Depends.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, there's just, we don't have enough time to go through that whole thing. Okay. But it does depend. And here's what I would suggest. Talk to owners who have soft mounts, talk to owners who have hard mounts, and even more, if you can, talk to owners who have soft mounts and hard mounts and figure out the pros and cons of those. This is one of those situations where you can get educated by the distributor. However, you also need to keep in mind that the distributor is trying to sell you something. So they're
Bingo.
gonna, they're gonna play up what they think they're gonna make the most money on. So
Newsflash here: soft mounts are going to talk up soft mounts. Hard mounts are going to talk up hard mounts.
yeah,
That's how they make their living.
yeah, absolutely.
That's a big conversation. There's a lot of good information out there on that too, by the way.
This is a yes or no question, so I'm going to ask it. Do you charge delivery fees?
No.
We have all-inclusive pricing.
No. What are you doing? This is a yes or no question.
I'm sorry. Right. No.
I was trying to no, I'm just kidding. All-inclusive pricing. I think a lot of
not everyone here is well behaved. Okay.
This happens at the end of the webinars. I'm looking at all of these questions that we haven't done yet. There's so many of them.
I can't believe that Dave followed instructions and stuck to one word, and I was the one who was talking too much. Okay.
We are passionate believers in all-inclusive pricing. Mark.
Yeah. The one time Dave actually followed the instructions. And Carla,
I know.
you had to go.
And I didn't.
I am so
ruined
proud
it.
of her. So proud of her.
Okay. Gosh. What's the future of the business? Is it franchising?
Modernized laundromat.
Is it? Yeah. I mean, we kind of did hit that.
You're serious at 8:28? You're serious?
That's only 5:28 here. I can go for hours, man. Hours and hours.
What is the future of the industry? I think a fair way to state that is the future of the industry are people that genuinely care about the community, the people they serve, and aren't afraid to charge accordingly. You can put that in pickup and delivery. You can put that in Houston, Texas. You can put it in Cincinnati, Ohio, or LA. You are going to thrive if that's how you run your business. Period. End of story.
Love it. Okay, this got answered. This got answered. That got answered. You got any? This is an interesting question to me, actually. Do you have any opinions on international equipment brands? I know there's some new ones like
that is a good question.
And I'm like really intrigued by this because they really haven't penetrated into our industry yet. And I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a matter of time before they do, but I'm interested to, I don't really know a whole lot about any international brands other than I guess if Continental is international.
How would they penetrate? Would they get distributers in the US?
Yeah, I mean, Electrolux is from Europe.
Oh, yeah, Electrolux. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have your Unity, which is a Chinese brand kind of coming in. I think, what's the name? Is it Talon or?
Yeah, Talon.
Somebody mentioned Talon.
Yeah, Talon.
There's someone says Fagor.
Yeah, Fagor. Thank you, Dan.
Butchering them.
I'll just tell you my opinion. My opinion of it is that they may disrupt the industry, but I don't think we'll actually know for a long time. And honestly, I'm not willing to make a 20-year bet because when you buy equipment, you're kind of a 15 to 20 year on the low side. If you're buying truly commercial grade equipment, that is, I don't think you're going to know that, I talk to people all the time and say, oh, I put in this brand or I put in this brand, which is, maybe not one of the, let's call them powerhouses in the industry, one of the established companies, 7 or 8 of them that we kind of know what we have, right? As an industry, we know what we have. These other ones are kind of aces in the hole, right? But they could also be complete and utter garbage in 5 years. And so I always I shouldn't say snicker, but I always kind of laugh to myself when someone puts in this off brand of equipment and tells me about how they saved $80,000 and they tell me they've had it for 18 months and they love it. Well, I'm pretty confident that I could buy a brand new car and within 18 months, I wouldn't have a real good grasp on whether this was a good investment for me. But come talk to me at 5 to 7 years, and I'll probably have a pretty good grasp if I made a good decision or a bad decision. Well, that 5 to 7 years with commercial laundry equipment is really a 12, 15, 17, 18, 20-year conversation. And when I'm making an investment like that, like I'm just not willing to take that chance. I would be willing to take that chance over $80,000 or $100,000 savings, which is a lot of money, if there weren't so many other options out there. But I guess for me, as an established operator in the industry at this point, I know what my options are. I have a pretty good grasp on let's call them the 6, 7, 8 powerhouse manufacturers in the industry. And honestly, I know I can make a lot of money and serve a lot of people with those brands. So I'm just not willing to take that chance. That's how I look at it.
Maybe I need to like set up some here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
you're gonna cut washers in half, aren't you?
I'm gonna set up a laundromat with one of these international brands. It's like a off-brand thing. I'm gonna run it for 5 years, and then I'm gonna raffle it off on the podcast or something and give it to somebody else. But then we'll at least know if the equipment's any good or something like that. You know what I mean?
5 years? You think you're gonna know 5 years?
7 years? 9?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'd say closer to double digits would be my guess.
It seems like a long time now.
I mean, yeah, if you want to put a top loader in or Horizon or something like that, sure. Talk to me in 5
Here's
years.
the real question. Does Maytag qualify for one of those off brands now?
I don't want to offend anyone.
Okay.
There's commercial laundry equipment and then there's not.
Is it? Okay. Can we do one more question?
Sure.
I think this one's interesting, and then we can wrap it up with this one. Richard's over here making moves for the whole nation. I like.
Yeah, Richard forgets to tell. I love Richard, but he forgets to tell people he's in Canada too. So.
Oh, Canada, that's like
Yeah,
$2 American dollars.
I know. He
Come
always
on.
cheats. He's like, I charge $33 for my top loaders, and we're like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's pesos
Canadian.
or
Oh,
whatever.
that's like a quarter. That's like what,
I'm aware he's not
50
invested,
cents.
though.
I don't know what the exact conversion rate is. It was basically
Joe Dan, tell us what you really think.
Yeah. Okay, here's the last question. Let's end with this one. I think it's kind of an interesting question, actually, too, and it's a question I know a lot of people have, okay. Let me just preface this by saying the correct answer is it depends. Okay, but is the cost of credit card readers worth it? Chat, I want you to chime in here because this is a question that a lot of owners struggle with because the upfront cost can be high depending on which system you use. But is the cost of a credit card system and credit card readers worth the expense?
What do you think, Carla? You want me to take it or?
I think it depends on your market and how in demand they are by your clients and also what your competitors are offering. What we've done in some of our stores is start with not changing the whole store over to credit card readers, but adding it to some. And you can kind of get a feel for, okay, are your customers gravitating towards those? Are they getting used a lot more? And that'll give you kind of some insight into if that's what they want.
Mm-hmm. I'm laughing at Joe Dan.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, Joe, I want to make sure we get your opinion on this too, Jordan. But my opinion on this is that obviously it depends, but it's a huge differentiator. So make no mistake about it. Ross is commenting on the person concerned about the 3% is chasing pennies, not dollars. Completely agree with that statement. There's your time factor, which Jason is talking about here. Those are absolutely true too. It is a market differentiator. But just like I talk about, and we didn't even bring it up today, just like I talk about with Santa Wash Ozone and things like that, it shouldn't be the first thing you do. It probably shouldn't even be the third thing you do. But if your laundromat is to a acceptable level and you decide what that looks like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's to an acceptable level, then that's going to continue to improve your value proposition and give you another market differentiator. Yes, you should do that with Ozone. Yes, you should do that with credit card readers. Yes, you should do that with a lot of things. Air conditioning. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that with, but absolutely positively get your core business right. And if you're vending dollar coins or quarters or tokens or whatever in the meantime, okay, that doesn't mean you're going to fail. It's just you have to put your priorities in line with everything in life, and business is no different. So is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it. Just put it in the right context. Make sure you have it in the right priority place. What are your thoughts on that, Jordan?
Yeah.
Are you
I
are
mean,
you still quartered in your store?
yeah, I do have quarters. I am putting in a card system in my store, my last remaining store at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I 100% agree, and it kind of goes back to that marketing thing too, right? It's like, you can differentiate by having a card system, but if people are coming and having a bad experience at your laundromat, it doesn't matter, and you're wasting your money, right? So I mean, I think having your basics down and ensuring you have good customer service, ensuring things are your place is clean. Uh, if you want to, yeah, Ross.
I don't know why y'all, bullying
Can
is not cool.
always count on Dave for the long answer.
Bullying is not cool in 2023. I just want you guys to know that. Bullying is not cool.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, all that to say, I agree with that completely. Have the basics down. I think having a card system is great, both for the customer and for the operator. I mean, especially I think for the operator, and you can incentivize customers to use the card system too, because it ultimately, it is easier for people to pay with a card than with coins, and you don't have to collect the coins and yada yada yada. So, so yeah, I mean, but again, it does depend on a whole lot of things, and if that's something that you're thinking about doing, and you can't decide one way or another, talk to some people who have done it and who have some experience and some knowledge and some wisdom to share with you about what that experience was like and was it a net positive. I have heard I've spoken with owners who put in card systems and it was not a good move for their laundromat and have taken that card system out, which is a tough
Why?
pill to swallow because they lost a lot of business.
Why was it
And
not a good fit? Did the customers just not like it, or?
customer base didn't like it and left. And
There-
so and to the point where I've talked with multiple owners who've taken card systems out and put in coin options again. Now maybe the argument should be, maybe a hybrid would have been a better move in that situation and, to ease people over. But again, it's contextual. It depends on your demographics. It depends on your store location. It depends on what your competitors are doing. All those things. And it also depends on how your laundromat's performing, right? You can drop a whole bunch of money into your laundromat, but if you're really only netting like $1,000 or $2,000 a month, is the net gain going to be enough to make it worth your while? Maybe, maybe not.
Get your core business right, guys. Get your core business right.
Yeah. Awesome. Guys, you guys, Ross, I just wanted to point out that Ross has heard those stories too. But usually he says, usually they didn't do the full store or something silly like that. So yeah. And I mean, there's, like I said, there's a whole lot that kind of goes into that. So, real quick, going back to the marketing thing, I just wanted to point out this last episode of the Laundromat Resource Podcast was killer. With Michael Jones, he literally pulls up. You should watch the video if you plan on consuming that. He pulls up his competitive analysis shares his screen. He shows you his ads. He goes through his entire process of how he nearly 10x'd his laundromat business. He went from sleeping in his laundromat to making $40,000 a month of revenue, and he goes through exactly how he did it all. So if the marketing thing is something that you're looking to up your game in, which all of us should be doing, this is a good episode for that. I know I just saw you guys your next season is coming up pretty soon for your podcast. Do you know when that's coming out?
We're still debating on the exact day.
Okay.
Possibly as early as the 19th, which is next Wednesday, but
It'll be in April.
Yeah,
We're entering season 4. So we're excited about that. We got some big things coming down the pike. We're going to keep doing more of what we're already doing and trying to get better at those, but we also have some pretty big things that are new, innovative, and we think are going to help the independent laundromat owner, which that's what you're here for. That's what we're here for. Big stuff.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So check out Laundromat Millionaire, all their channels, Facebook, YouTube, laundromatmillionaire.com, podcast on all the major podcast players all over the place. I'm on Laundromat Resource, which is all over the place too. And man, you guys, this has been super fun. Carla, it's way, way, way better when you're here. And next time,
Aw,
maybe just you and
thanks
me.
for
Cindy.
inviting
You
me.
just
I feel
get
so
rid of
honored.
Dave. Yeah. No, in
I
the
don't
chat.
I don't even disagree.
Yeah.
Even though you try to bully me.
Dave's going to go
I don't
take a
know.
nap.
Y'all lost me on the
Yeah.
equipment stuff. Y'all got into the equipment. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
Her eyes glazed over.
Oh.
No. Both. I mean, seriously, both you guys. It's always a blast. You know,
Dude,
chatting
love
with
you,
you
man.
guys and Dave. I
Appreciate
love doing these things with you too. And specifically just to give you a hard time. But chat, you guys were the real
See you
deal.
in San Diego.
Yeah,
Anybody
you
wants
guys
to
were the
come
real
play?
deal. The entire Hall of Fame came out for this one, which was awesome. So hopefully you guys got a lot of good stuff in the discussion here, but hopefully you got a lot of really good stuff in the chat there. And Ross says, see you guys in San Diego. I know you guys are going to San Diego, the Excellence in Laundry. So go check that out if you guys want to meet in person these legends of the industry. And guys, so good. Thank you again for coming on and doing this with me.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Or
Guys,
thank you
all you
for
want-
letting
all
me do
you
it with
got-
you. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.